And on to our next story now. The United States has cleared the sale of 22 Predator Guardian drones to India ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the United States that begins this Sunday. WION explains the significance of this deal. Take a look.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to meet US President Donald Trump on Monday. The mood this time is not as ecstatic as Modi's last visit, given the often unpredictable policies of Donald Trump. But in a positive development, the State Department of the United States has approved sale of Predator Guardian drones to India, practically furthering the policy of Obama administration that had termed India a major defense partner. What can a Predator Guardian drone do? The Predator Guardian UAV is manufactured by General Atomics. It is a variant of Predator B. It is an asset for maritime intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance. It can stay in air for up to 27 hours. It can fly at maximum altitude of 50,000 feet. The deal is estimated to be between $2 and $3 billion, and an official announcement is expected soon. Bureau Report, WION.
All right, so a sale just ahead of Prime Minister Modi's visit, but we also know for a fact that India is making an outreach toward Russia. To put all of this in perspective for us, I'm joined on the broadcast by Nandan Unnikrishnan, Senior Fellow at the ORF. Also with me is my colleague, WION's Senior Correspondent, Ramesh Ramachandran. Good evening, gentlemen. Thanks very much for being with us. Nandan, if I can come across to you first, what do you make of India sort of returning, if you will, to its old partner in Russia of late? Does this go against the expectations of the Modi-Trump relationship?
Well, I don't think that India is going back to its old partnership with Russia. I think, yes, maybe it may appear so in this world where there is so much uncertainty about our relationship with the United States. But at the same time, I would not really worry about it because our interests with the United States are much deeper than Donald Trump. So there is a commonality of interests both nations have. The United States is not about to isolate itself from the rest of the world. Its power and its strength is that it is a hegemon and it intervenes in situations across the globe. So it needs to maintain relationships. However, the problem is that there are many things that India require at this point of time, which it will be difficult for the United States or any other country to provide. And we have a stable and tested channel of cooperation with the Russian Federation. And therefore, I assume you're asking these questions in the context of Mr. Jaitley's visit. So therefore, this visit and the decision is required to see some of the projects which are stuck right now or maybe stagnating to see how to push them forward.
All right. Let me go across to my colleague Ramesh. I am given to understand that Senior Fellow of the IDSA, Ajay Lele, is also with us on the phone line. Good evening, Mr. Lele. I'll come across to you in just a second. Ramesh, just going off of what Nandan just said to us, do you feel that perhaps too much is being made of India's existing relationship with Russia? I mean, it's only obvious that keeping the scale of the defense partnership there, we can't ignore Russia at any point in time. But do you think it's a significant detail to look at when we're looking at Prime Minister Modi's visit to the United States?
Indeed, Aisha, there is no denying that Russia remains India's mainstay, as it were, a key defense partner. But that said, just to take off from the point where Nandan left, India-US relations have acquired a logic of their own. But that said, personalities do matter, especially in the Indian subcontinent, where a lot of decisions are taken by the personality or based on the personalities or personal preferences of politicians. There are a lot of anticipation here in India, at least, when Donald Trump won the presidency in the US, and a lot of anticipation that we have two leaders in India and the US who have a similar worldview, if I can put it that way. But the 5 months on, 5 months of Trump presidency, to my mind, he is buffeted by domestic crises, and I wonder how much time and effort he can actually, invest in the relationship with India. But that said, another worry to my mind is the absence of the transfer of technology. It's a very mercantilist relationship, transactional relationship so far, and there's also an inherent contradiction in terms between Trump's Buy America or Make in America, as well as against Prime Minister Modi's Make in India program. So a lot of questions remain unanswered going forward as well.
Okay, so I'll take some of those up in a bit, but just to get Mr. Lele in on the conversation, sir, if I can just ask you, we are talking about a time where India seems to be enjoying the benefit of a number of relationships. We know that there's the existing one with Russia. We're hearing about the right kind of noises from the United States. We know that it just embarked on a deal with France for the Rafale aircraft as well. Is India facing a problem of plenty, but at the same time focus remains on India's relationship with the United States?
I think if we have to consider India is facing a problem of plenty, one has to slightly go back and look at the statistics. In last year, CIPRI had come out, the Stockholm agency had come out with the statistics that during the year 2012 to 2016, 68% of India's arms imports were from Russia. So if you really look at the numbers actually speak in favor of Russia totally. We got only 14% of whatever we have taken from outside, from the US, and 7, if I'm not wrong, 7 or 7.5% from Israel. So from that perspective, I think our definitely focus will remain on Russia. However, India has now slightly started to diversify also. We are keen to buy from France, we are keen to buy from South Korea, and even from countries like Spain. So from that point of view, you got modern armament, modern systems which are available. Problem with Russia has been that there has been certain amount of a delay in terms of execution of the contracts. So from that point of view, definitely India is making others also aware that if you are not willing to follow the timeline, then we could have or we could go for other options. So from that point of view, I think more than a problem of plenty, India is in a position to choose.
Okay, fair enough. Nandan, Ramesh mentioned that there was a lot of rhetoric about Prime Minister Modi and Donald Trump when President Trump won the election. And keeping in mind the sort of growing belligerence of Russia and China in the region, don't you think that the United States would have looked at this as an opportune time to strengthen its partnership with India? But we haven't really seen a lot of time being invested. Why do you think that?
Well, I think if you look at the relationship historically, since 2005, the United States has been investing substantially in the relationship with India. The Indo-US nuclear deal is a sign of that. Subsequently, we have made several purchases. We've also, outlined, Mr. Modi and Mr. Obama had a vision document, which is quite unique, which they put together in 2015. So there has been contact with each other. I think we are all overreacting to Mr. Trump and his unpredictability, and therefore all these questions arise. You see, in any case, there is a major change occurring in global geopolitics. There are new centers of power which are rising. There are some old centers of power which may be relatively declining. Now, in this churn that is taking place in geopolitics, it is good policy for India to try and maintain good relations with all great powers. And India is, I think, making attempts in that sense to have good relations with all great powers that is possible. Of course, we have a dispute with China, a border dispute. Our relationship in the last 1.5 years has not been one of the best ones. But at the same time, it has progressed. We've entered the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. We are part of the BRICS. We are part of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. So there is a cooperation at many levels. At some levels, for example, on the One Belt, One Road initiative, yes, there is a point of difference because we see it as a neo-colonial project, and therefore we are opposed to it because we are against any country becoming a hegemon in Asia. So there is going to be a stage, or this is the phase in which our relationships, they're going to be competition in some areas, there's going to be cooperation in others.
Okay, so cooperation is going to be the key word, Ramesh, but looking at how things have been between India and the United States in the past with Prime Minister Modi and his first name basis relationship with President Obama, it's not difficult to imagine the same thing not happening this time around. And Nandan brought up the unpredictability of President Trump, and that has really come to define the way the rest of the world is approaching the United States. How do you think India is planning to approach this very crucial visit, if you will?
Absolutely, Aisha. The challenge before both countries, if I can put it that way, is to revive the momentum that one saw during the presidency of Obama and Prime Minister Modi, the initial 2.5 years of his prime ministership here in India. But that said, just to take off from the point where Nandan left, and both Professor Dr. Lele also mentioned, diversification is welcome. There's no denying it. But at the same time, it has to be accompanied by an element, or at least a modicum of indigenization, transfer of technology, co-production, co-development. And that, I think, is the next threshold, as it were, for India to cross and to reach. So it remains to be seen how India and the US can work together on this issue. But that said, in the run-up to the Prime Minister Modi's visit, we've seen at least a semblance of an agreement or an understanding reached between Lockheed Martin of the US and the Indian private sector conglomerate Tata, and also the supply or the sale of the Guardian drones. So things are happening, but well, you know, it will always be always scope for improvement. Let me put it that way, Aisha.
Okay, I'm going to take one last question on this segment, and I'm going to ask the same one of both Ajay and Nandan. Nandan, I'll come to you first. You know, Ramesh has mentioned technology transfer, and I think it's important to make note of that. Do you think that it's going to be the crucial or critical element of the way India and the United States partner in the years to come?
I believe that a technology transfer, technology cooperation is going to be critical for India in its relationship not only with the United States. I am sure that even when Mr. Jaitley is sitting currently in Moscow and talking, technology transfer and technology cooperation is occupying a significant amount of his discussions. India is at a stage of development. India has to undergo an industrial revolution without the help of many of the factors that helped other countries go through their industrial revolution. So therefore, we need technologies in every single way, whether it is to deal with climate change or whether it is to improve our manufacturing sector. So I think with all developed countries, India's conversation will include technology.
Okay, Ajay, if I can come to you, just adding a little bit to that question. Definitely, as Nandan and Ramesh are pointing out, the technology transfer point of it is very crucial. But you also said that India maybe is not facing a problem of plenty, but has the option or the comfort of choice. Does that apply across the board, not just with the US, but with other countries when it comes to technology transfer? And is India doing enough to push that point across?
I think one must understand that particularly the United States of America has done a lot amount of a lip service as far as technology transfer is concerned. Their core interest is in business. They are definitely not keen to transfer a technology. But that's not the case with Russia. I think right now Mr. Jaitley is sitting over there and Mr. Modi going to visit. There appears to be a certain amount of a balancing act over here. If I slightly go back to the history, India has got an agreement with the United States called the Defense Trade and Technology Initiative, DTTI. Under that initiative, if you really identify the technologies which have been discussed, none of these technologies are core technologies. So US, to my mind, is not going to share a technology as a technology transfer, but they will only get into a business sort of a dealing. But there is a hope from Russia and could be from other countries also. They are not yet tasted. But other countries also should be tasted for technology transfer. Because one must understand that your Make in India program has got a meaning if there is a good amount of a technology.
Right.
Otherwise, again, Make in India will emerge as a screwed arrow technology. And that's the basic danger which we face right now.
All right, we leave it there, gentlemen. Thanks very much to all of you for joining us with your perspectives. Nandan Krishnan, my colleague Ramesh Ramachandran, and of course Ajay Lele.